Hello, everyone. Thanks for making the time to join us this evening. Well, we've got another person to admit already. Hello, hello. My name is Michael. I'm the events coordinator and publicist at Annie Bloom's Books. For those of you who aren't familiar with the store, we're located in Portland, Oregon, in the heart of Multnomah Village, where we've been around for 43 years now. We're open on weekdays from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and weekends from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our website is always open. You can shop day and night at Annie Bloom's. We offer curbside pickup, in-store pickup, local delivery, a couple of different shipping options. And you can shop right now for Jeff's books at the event website that I just put into the chat right there. So we would encourage you to do that. We would be really appreciative. Jeff will sign books for you. That'd be great. We've got some really great events coming up. On Monday, another local author, Randolph Splitter. He's going to be reading from his new novel, The Third Man. From Vienna in the 1930s to England in the 1940s and back, Third Man is a story of dispossession, refuge, and the search for justice and humanity. On the following night, another Portlander, Mark McDonald, will be here with his sister, Rachel Elliott, that he was estranged from for decades because of an adoption. And they wrote a book together called Love and Genetics. And that should be really cool. That's on Tuesday at 5 p.m. On the following Tuesday, March 29th at 7 p.m., have a couple of kids authors, middle grade books. Sonia Thomas, who's a local author, with Ernesto Cisneros. Sonia's brand new book is called Sir Fig Newton and the Science of Persistence. And it's about saving her cat. Tonight, we have Portland author Jeff Wallach with his new novel, Everyone Here is from Somewhere Else. There'll be a Q&A at the end. You can feel free to type questions into the chat and I'll read those aloud. Or you can click on the little blue hand icon that's in the reactions menu there at the bottom of the screen and ask a question live if you'd prefer, if you dare. Let me tell you a little bit about Everyone Here is from Somewhere Else. Mysteries, comedy, and atmospheric Irish Gulf and Guinness abound, and Everyone Here is from Somewhere Else, the new novel from Jeff Wallach, author of the highly acclaimed Mr. Wizard. The new standalone story continues the tale of middle-aged brothers Philip and Spencer Elliott, who undertake a quest inspired by their late mother to discover wonderful things. The brothers must deal with issues of permanence, change, and legacy as they follow a trail to find their place in the world and experience events and connections that are as surprising as they are inevitable. Publisher Open Books chose St. Patrick's Day for publication. Happy St. Patrick's Day to celebrate the Irish heritage and character Patrick Elliott featured in the book. The action takes place in settings ranging from 1950s Brooklyn to New York's Catskill Mountains to present-day Portland, Oregon. And the fictitious Irish Gulf town of, well, I'm just going to let Jeff pronounce this later. Along the way, Wallach offers insights about family, golf, fishing, travel, New York, and other subjects he covered during a distinguished journalism career. John Norville, writer of the beloved golf movie Tin Cup, said of the new book, Wallach continues his chronicle of the Elliott brothers as they traverse landscapes of fresh discovery and human connection, a journey rich in humor, wit, and insight. Jeff Wallach is the award-winning author of 5 nonfiction books and 2 novels, as well as nearly 1,000 articles, essays, reviews, and columns in the New York Times, Oregonian, Sports Illustrated, Men's Journal, Golf Magazine, Men's Health, Health, Money Magazine, and many other national publications. He holds a master's degree in fiction writing from Brown University and a Bachelor of Arts degree in English from Vassar College. He lives right here in Portland, Oregon. Everybody welcome Jeff Wallach.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everybody else out there for coming. I can see your names on the list, even if I don't see your faces. So it's good to see who's here from all over the country. So I'm going to read a couple sections of the book, maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes of reading. Then we can have some questions or talk about whatever's on your mind. I want to give a little bit of background in case the second book is new to you and you have not read the first book. We're calling this a standalone sequel. So you could read Everyone Here by itself, but having read the first book, Mr. Wizard, would give you a lot more background. Mr. Wizard came out in 2020. The book is a DNA treasure hunt in which 2 brothers learn late in life that their father wasn't who they'd been brought up to believe he was, who he was, and they go searching to solve the mystery of who their father is, which they accomplish in the first book. The new book, Everyone Here, is both a sequel and a prequel to Mr. Wizard, although it's also a novel that stands on its own. But if you only read the new one, you'll miss some of the insider info that I think helps it make it more fun. In the new book, the brothers Philip and Spencer Elliott seek to solve another mystery, the mystery of themselves and who they are now. And part of that involves discovering where they belong. At the same time, the reader gets more insight into where the brothers came from, who their parents were and supposed parents were, and where they came from, both physically and psychically. And in some instances, the reader has more information than the characters, which isn't necessarily fair to the characters, but it's more interesting for the reader. A little further explanation. In book one, Philip learns that an old Irish golf pro, Patrick Elliott, is his father, and that Patrick is actually the brother of Jack Elliott, the man that both boys were brought up to believe was their father, though he died young in the Vietnam War. Spencer's father, meanwhile, turns out to be someone else entirely, and that's another secret that's revealed in the first book. So while they're searching for their father/fathers in the first book, Spencer happens to fall in love with Patrick's daughter, Tricia, whom he's not related to, even though she's the half-sister of his now half-brother, if that makes sense. We could draw a chart at the end if we need to. In book two, Spencer has moved to Ireland with Tricia and has begun taking golf lessons from Patrick, her father, and also his now half-brother's father, as a way of trying to solve a quest for meaning set out for both brothers by their mother, Jenny, before she dies on page 1 of the first book. Spoiler alert. In the new book, the brothers' searches take them to different places geographically, but they also search through other vehicles to find out who they are. While in Portland, Oregon, in the case of Philip, and Ireland, in the case of Spencer. Spencer uses golf, among other things, as a means of self-searching. Philip turns briefly to fishing, among other things. So I'm going to start with the prologue of the book and then read the first chapter, and then we'll see how we're doing on time. And if anyone's asleep on camera, I'll take that as a sign to stop. I had my writers group earlier this week, and we talked a little bit about prologues, and I was rather shocked when one of my friends in the group said that she never reads a prologue, and that was terrifying information to me, because both of these books are entirely set up in the prologue, and the conflict is established, and the plot is more or less revealed. And so that's one reason I'm going to read the prologue first tonight, in case someone picks up the book and decides to skip the prologue. The other thing I'll say about this book is that all of the chapters have titles, and every one of these titles is sort of a puzzle if the reader is inclined to figure out what it means. But upon looking at it, it doesn't really have any connection to the action of the book. But given a little research or thought, each of these chapter titles reveals something further. So here's the prologue, which is entitled Howard Carter. Philip and Spencer Elliott were visiting their mother at Willow Gardens for what would prove to be their last time all together. Jenny kept opening the refrigerator. She was looking for her pearls, she said. Her hair was crazy. Did you look in the tuna salad, or maybe suspended in the Jell-O? Spencer, the younger brother, asked. He was only half joking. It was the kind of thing their mom might have done to some specific purpose when they were growing up. She once surprised Spencer by hiding the key to his first car, a gift from her, in a pile of mashed potatoes. Jenny tottered into the living room and sat in the recliner opposite her sons. Philip straightened a few books on a low shelf. Some were upside down, others arranged with the pages, not the spines, facing outward. I want you boys to promise me something, Jenny said. She combed her hair with her fingers, looking at them with one eyebrow raised. They knew that expression could belie honest confusion or intentional befuckery. One moment, Jenny might share a story about her girlhood in Brooklyn in great detail, a story about perseverance or honoring your parents, or that people in general were liars and shitheels. The next moment, she might whisper that Mrs. Glauberman next door was a Ukrainian spy. You need to move away, Jenny announced, both of you. Live in a different place, even if it's the same place because you can't stand to be separated. Go soon while you're still young. It'll become part of your legacy. The brothers smiled at each other, ruefully. They were no longer young. They were in their 50s, currently unmarried. Are you sending us on a quest? Spencer asked, like the old scavenger hunts. Any place in particular we should go? Philip asked. It doesn't matter where, Jenny said. Things will be revealed to you. Wonderful things. They considered her words. Their mother was a master of secret keeping, of misdirection. When they were children, her quests and guessing games could lead almost anywhere, but always somewhere unexpected or even profound. That was her legacy. You'll see what I mean when you get there, Jenny said with some finality. That's what happened to me when I lived in ancient Egypt. The boys nodded at each other in the sign language that defined brotherhood, particularly theirs. Oh, and have some kids for fuck's sake, their mother said. Now I'm going to go to part 1, chapter 1, and this is titled Nanu Nanu. Just a moment of background here. So Philip in book 1 is married to a woman named Marty, and then for 25 years divorced from Marty, and then after that 25 years they get back together again. So this book opens with their wedding. Philip and Marty agreed that she would be in charge of the wedding. Philip had bullied his imprint on their first wedding at Tavern on the Green in Manhattan. And well, they knew how that marriage had worked out. We're going to have this one in Iowa, she told him. They were sorting through the closets in the apartment on the Upper West Side to make room for her things again. She would hold up one of his older suits that he didn't seem capable of getting rid of and give him that look. Philip would nod and toss it into the Goodwill pile. He wouldn't need a suit in Iowa. They'd probably wear barrels held up by suspenders, like the characters in the board game Go for Broke that he and Spencer played as kids. Maybe he wouldn't need suits again in New York either. Suddenly, anything seemed possible. Maybe he'd trade his khakis and button-down Oxfords for board shorts and third world dictator shirts. Maybe they'd become nudists. Okay then, Philip said, Iowa. He smiled at Marty with his marriage smile. Then it transposed to a real smile because of the way he loved her after all this time. At the fairgrounds, she added to test him. The fairgrounds, of course, Philip said. I'm half kidding about the fairgrounds, Marty added, but only half. They have an event space. The phrase event space conjured debacle for Philip. He pictured children fleeing a disheveled clown. We could have your high school cafeteria cater it, Philip said. We could have a merry-go-round for the New Yorkers where they ride real ponies and pull down donuts instead of brass rings. We could have rainbow unicorns, Marty said, pooping out communion wafers with vegetable cream cheese smears on them for the Jews. They exchanged their vows at the county fairgrounds in Devine, Iowa on a July day when the fields were as green and gold as a Midwestern sports team's logo. The reception was held in a huge modern barn built with solid timbers held together with black metal brackets. Spencer, whose own first wedding had taken place recently, noted that the timbers must have been dragged to the site by ancient Hawkeye slaves, since little plant life larger than corn or soybeans was visible for miles. And I had no idea corn was actually grown, Spencer said as an afterthought. I thought they made it on a lathe. Spencer served as best man, just as he had at Philip and Marty's first wedding, at what Spencer referred to as Shazbat Shalom on West 76th Street in 1993. Shabbat Shalom, Jenny, their elegantly bohemian and irreverent mother, had corrected him at the time. She was proud and nervous in equal measure, her family on display. As often happened, she was only half listening to her younger son. I like to call it Shazbat, Spencer said. What's Shazbat? Jenny asked, adjusting her pearls. It's what Mork used to say on TV because he couldn't say, oh, fuck. Given the bride and groom's age and experience, the current wedding was a less formal affair, not just because of the locale. Philip still insisted on beer from Oregon, wine from Italy, and Irish whiskey because these had been so well received at his brother's wedding and reflected new connections they'd all made. Local farms provided the food and catering, and the band played bluegrass and country western, Marty's choice. It included actual fiddlers. As Philip snuck a moment of repose in a peeling Adirondack chair on the lawn behind the barn before the service, Spencer handed him a cigar the size of a chicken leg. What was it about the massive lawns here anyway, Philip was wondering. Miles of them, immaculately managed within a blade of their lives. He imagined a homeowner sitting atop a riding mower. When he finished, it was already time to start again. He envisioned an Escher-like world of continuous mowing. It's the Andalusian bull, Spencer said, indicating the cigar, for later. It's big enough for the whole family, Philip said. Speaking of the family, Spencer said, I just saw Luca Brasi practicing his speech out in the hayfield. He's wearing a straw hat and overalls, which isn't surprising overall, Spencer said. Tell him to come in, Philip said. Tell him to leave the hay and bring the cannoli. Spencer smiled his gorgeous, indefensible, rakish smile. That's just never not funny to me, he said. No, it's never not, Philip agreed. At the reception, Spencer delivered the official toast. He wore a sleek blue suit, the color of the dresses of painted chapel virgins, and a white shirt but no tie, a concession to Philip and Marty calling for a casual affair so as not to highlight how different the New Yorkers could be, despite it doing so anyway. Spencer stood on the click-together parquet of the dance floor with a wireless microphone in one hand and a plastic champagne flute in the other. He was tan and relaxed and radiated the quiet confidence of someone happily married to the right person after a lifetime of miscues. Trisha, his own new wife, was resplendent in a strappy black dress that offset her fiery hair. Spencer cleared his throat, tapped the mic twice. The echoey room grew quiet except for the scraping of chairs and the distant lowing of a cow, which unsettled several of the out-of-town guests. When my brother asked me to be the best man, I was thinking I could just reuse the toast from Philip and Marty's first wedding, he began, since it's been so long that you've certainly forgotten it, or maybe you weren't even there. But then I took a closer look at the speech and I kept crossing things out. I hope we'll toast your 50th anniversary. Nope. I hope you'll have a house full of noisy children who play percussion. Nope. I wish you a Goyish mansion in East Hampton with a cadre of homely Russian au pairs. Not likely. Until all that was left of the toast was l'chaim. This elicited a few chortles, a few golf claps. So I wrote a new toast with the help of my wife, who wasn't even born last time Philip got married. No, I'm joking about that. I'm nervous up here because I feel like I'm 0 for 1 with the success of my wedding toasts, and I really want this one to take. And please, somebody give me the signal to shut up if I'm going on too long. Around the room, half a dozen people moved hands across their throats. Spencer laughed into the mic with a sound like an email sending. Oh, a tough crowd. I'll try to make it short. He shot his cuffs the way their mother had taught him to do so many years ago when he was the great Spencerini, a magician. I just want to say that I've loved Marty since Philip and I both met her at McSorley's Tavern in New York on a spring night back in 1987, and I knew they were meant to be together. I'm not making that up. It's exactly what I said to them at the time. Her laser use of profanities impressed me from the very beginning. So maybe Philip Wallach's did, but now they're back together and I couldn't be happier. Our mother, Jenny, would feel the same way if she were still alive. She loved Marty, and those two formed a bond that none of the rest of us could ever explain. I wish Jenny was here with us now. She loved a good party too, and this is a good one. We have some celebrity guests making their first appearances here in Iowa. Our cousin Leah and her wife Stephanie. Philip's childhood friend Max Feingold, that was him playing the wedding march on the bagpipes. My wife Tricia and her parents are here all the way from Ireland. It turns out, get this, that Tricia's father is coincidentally also Philip's father, but maybe you've already heard about that. It goes along with another fun fact Philip and I learned recently, that our Uncle Jerry was actually my father, but that's a whole nother story, which by the way, makes cousin Leah my half sister as well. Don't worry if you're not following. Sometimes we can't figure it all out either. We'll draw you a flow chart after the first dance. What strikes me standing here today, other than the sound of tractors outside and a genuine fear of tornadoes, is how different our family looks since Philip and Marty's first wedding. And what better measure of change is there than to consider how things looked when you first married your true love, and then how things look more than 25 years later when you marry them again. We've been through a lot lately, and the very notion of family relationships, even of who we are as brothers and sons and husbands, has taken on new meanings for us. Philip and I have talked about it, so I can speak for him too. I probably would anyway. We learned that our very essence is defined by our actions, not just by the DNA that formed us, or certainly not the DNA that we thought had formed us, and by the choices we make, like whether you ordered the beef or the fish tonight. I hope you went with the beef, since I haven't noticed an ocean around here. Let me just add that our mother, who turned out to be a wizard of misdirection, left a trail for us to follow to all these conclusions. Spencer didn't mention that while that particular quest set by their mother was completed, another might be in the offing. He looked out over the crowd grouped in circles of 8 around tables set with white tablecloths among the hay bales. Guests were grinning, chuckling, guzzling their toast champagne. Philip and Marty had intentionally intermixed the New Yorkers with the Iowans, mostly just to see what would happen. They seemed to be getting along brilliantly. I'm already going on too long here, Spencer said, and Philip threatened to use the hook on me if I babbled for more than 5 minutes. So let me close by saying that Philip and I discovered that we're largely defined by who we choose, especially since we can't choose our family. And Philip and Marty chose each other. And then, given other opportunities and intervening years and other romances, they chose each other again. What better testament is there to true love? So, and here he hoisted his flute of champagne. Please raise a glass with me and say l'chaim or slancha, or whatever they say when someone makes a brilliant and humorous toast in Iowa. And congratulations. And I love you both. Philip, twice as much as the half brother you've turned out to be. And I am now officially shutting up, which of course he did. So that is chapter prologue and chapter 1. Let's see my timing. I'm going to read one more short excerpt if you're still with me. and nobody cuts my sound off. So I'm going to read from much later in the book, chapter 29. In the meantime, since the wedding, Philip and Marty have moved to Portland, Oregon. They're trying to figure out what place means to them. Spencer and Tricia have moved to her hometown in Ireland. Spencer is also trying to figure out some things about who he is and how to define that, and where he belongs in the world. And each of the brothers chooses a different sport that are kind of known famously for being sports that people pursue when they're trying to learn things. And so the brothers have a Zoom call conversation once a week where they compare notes on how their search is going and what they're doing. And this is, I'm going to read you this Zoom call. Chapter 29, which is called Beyond the Fairway. I went fishing, Philip told his brother to open their next Zoom conversation. You so did not go fishing, Spencer said. What's wrong with you? Now you're going to tell me that you liked it and that you bought a fishing pole, which you'll insist I refer to as a rod made from moonstone and spider legs, and that it gives you extra torque for the triple salchow or some such falderall, and that you bought rubber clothing and you're walking around with a fish hook wrapped in feathers in your hat. Falderall, really? Philip said. And the rod is graphite. Oh, how I would love to see this, Spencer said. Don't take this personally, but could there be a stupider sport than this? I mean, really, standing in a freezing stream all day with a silly hat on and a net, trying to trick a poor fish into eating fake food? It's like if you had a dog and you tapped on his bowl in the morning and he came running over, but the bowl was full of feathers with a fucking hook in the bottom. Who's a net? Philip said. A net? You said standing in a stream with a silly hat and a net. You know what fishing has taught me? Philip asked. That you need a different hobby? That we're a lot like locks, Philip said. He knew that would stop Spencer in his tracks for at least a moment. I'm listening. Well, at least we're like salmon before they're smoked, and steelhead. And please don't tell me that I shouldn't be smoking. Okay. You probably know this already, being such a stable genius, but salmon are born in rivers and then swim out to the ocean and wander around for most of their lives, traveling the world. But they always return home eventually. Steelhead too. They're trout that do the same thing. And even more interesting is that the trout that travel are no longer even the same fish when they come back. They're changed. Their travels have changed them. I see where you're going, and I'd like to put a stop to this discussion before you compare us to cream cheese, Spencer said. I don't get why you don't spend your valuable but apparently unlimited leisure time doing something more sensible than fishing, like golfing. Ah, golfing, Philip said, a sport that truly tests your physical abilities, a sport that includes a drink cart full of booze and candy bars. They actually say drinks cart over here, Spencer said, which makes sense since the carts almost always have more than one drink. It wouldn't be very efficient otherwise. And how is the sport of fat, rich white guys? It's fine, but I have some not great news. You missed a 3-foot putt? Philip asked. You know as well as anyone that I hate to be serious. But Patrick, your father's not doing so well. There's been some debate about whether to tell you or not, since you've only recently started your own new life as a frontiersman. I wanted to give you a heads up, but this is completely unofficial. You didn't hear it from me. How much not doing so well? Philip asked. It's hard to say. He's ailing. He looks like he's 200 years old. It might be nothing. If it wasn't nothing, what might it be? Philip asked. Well, it might be cancer of some sort. There seems to be a wide variety, but apparently none are the good cancer, like with cholesterol. The family's not forthcoming with a lot of intimate details, just like the way we were raised, coincidentally. I think there may be an oncologist involved though, which is never what you want to hear. How are his spirits? Philip asked. Well, his short game is pretty tight right now, so he seems happy enough, but he's very tired. Is this your secret way of telling me I should come out there? Philip asked. Oh, that part isn't meant to be secret. And just so long as you understand that it's not because I'm desperate to see you, even though I might be. That's a separate issue, Philip said. But back to the fishing for a second and the golfing. What is wrong with us? I know, Spencer said. It's like if they made a movie combining A River Runs Through It with The Ledger of Bagger Vance, where Will Smith beats Brad Pitt senseless with a canoe paddle, while Robert Redford voices over the whole thing and tells us it's religion. Philip paused. Or maybe it's like Caddyshack meets The Old Man and the Sea, he countered, where Spencer Tracy is dying of dehydration and then hooks Bill Murray and drags him back to Cuba while the cast of Saturday Night Live swims around the boat and Ted Knight yells, "You'll get nothing and you'll like it." Hey, that's not bad, Spencer said. They're such cliche sports is what bothers me, Philip said. Like we're supposed to receive some kind of Zen revelation by catching a trout or sinking a stupid putt. Well, yes, at least the fishing is dumb, I agree, Spencer said. But I'm tired of this entire quest thing. If I was Odysseus, I'd just make peace with the Amazons and stay on their island. I could help them sell the books. I don't think Odysseus ever met the Amazons, Philip said. That's a different myth. Maybe that was Hercules. But we seem to be following the themes of the Odyssey saga nonetheless, even if our efforts are a little less heroic. What are the themes? Spencer asked. Well, from what I can remember, wandering, testing, omens, and return. So golf has all that? Spencer asked. I must be missing something. That's the thing, Philip said. What are we missing in this whole stupid search inspired by a known liar with dementia? If we knew that, it wouldn't be missing, Spencer said, but I sure like the idea of return. And I think I will leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Michael will come back and let us all in if anyone wants to talk or ask questions or throw fruit at their screen.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions live or questions in the chat? Either is fine. All right, I'll start with a question. Oh wait, Lloyd has one. Do you have a question, Lloyd?
No, not a question. I just want to congratulate Jeff on the hard work and good job. You know, thank you very much. I know what it takes to write a book, and someday I'll know it firsthand. And you know, good work, Jeff.
Thanks, Lloyd. Very nice of you.
So I had a question about the hero's journey. I was noticing how you made it explicit so often, the themes of that, and like, you know, sort of setting someone off on a quest. And I wondered what inspired you to put that on the page, literally, as opposed to just like kind of, you know, setting up as a hero's quest or hero's journey.
You know, that's one of the things I really need to go back and read more of. Joseph Campbell and the Hero's Journey. I mean, you know, I'm familiar with the themes of the book, not the specifics, but I just think that, you know, storytelling naturally falls into those patterns. And in this particular book, you know, the quest is, like in the first book, the quest was very specific. They were looking for their father, and their tools were very specific. You know, they were doing research in libraries and following DNA tests and talking to people. And in the new book, the quest is more esoteric. You know, they're kind of looking for their place in the world, and even geographically, not just you know, metaphorically. And so I felt this one needed a few more signposts along the way to make it clear what the journey was. But that's a great question, and I'm gonna go read some Joseph Campbell. If you have it in the store, I'll come buy it tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Let's see, we've got a question from Terry Cheney. I love the flow of your dialogue as always, and thank you for using the word befuckery again. Yes, that was great. Will you promise me to use it in all your future novels?
Guaranteed. Yeah,
Good.
that's an easy one. That's, yeah, probably one of my favorite words in the language. Along with, I forgot to use douchebaggery, which I think is equally good, but so you have that to look forward to in the next book.
Make with a bagger of ants, douchebaggery.
There you go. That's even better.
Kim Croft Miller says, do you owe all your success to your writing group? Just kidding. It's Kim in the writing group. I must say this is even more amazing read out loud. So good. My question is, having never asked you this, what made you want to connect the story to Ireland in particular?
Yeah, I should tell you that my writing group actually wrote both of these books. I had nothing to do with them. So thanks, Kim and Maureen. I wish the others were here too. Well, so the Ireland thing is kind of funny because the first book, is based on someone who learns late in life that they have this ancestry that they didn't know about, which also happened to me in real life. In that when I was about 50, my mother offhandedly said something about my Scottish great-grandfather, which, we had never heard anything about this for 50 years. And now all of a sudden, boom, Scottish ancestry. So I went and had a DNA test done, and it turns out I had a great-grandfather who was Scottish, and my DNA test showed 12% Scottish ancestry. So I started the book and it was going to be in Scotland. And then I realized, having spent some time in both Scotland and Ireland, that the Irish are much funnier. And so I just thought, nobody's really going to know. I'll just move over one country and make them Irish. So there you have it.
Magdalena, I loved hearing the text in your voice. Maybe an audiobook someday? Great job, Jeff.
That would be fantastic. So what happens is someone has to buy the rights to the audiobook. So they're available for all of you. If any of you would need an investment, this would be almost as good as investing in a restaurant, probably. But yeah, so when the publisher buys the book, they buy a whole series of different rights, and then they try to sell off those rights to someone who will put up the money to make the other things happy. So, movie rights, there could be, Philip and Spencer action figures. You could buy the rights to those, and the audio rights. And we're hopeful. My publisher thought that once the second book came out, maybe there would be a better chance of somebody buying the audio rights. So here's that.
There's some comments from Maureen Sullivan, but not a question.
Okay.
So I was just scanning through those. Any other questions? Oh, wait, here we go. Remy, did both Spencer and Philip fully evolve in their quests to find purpose in life, etc. themselves?
That's a good question. So if this book is about place, let's say they figure out where they belong. Fully evolve doesn't seem to be in the cards for them, particularly Spencer. But they do solve this particular quest that they're on, and so I guess that they evolve some, but not, I wouldn't say fully.
That's for the third book, right?
There might, yeah, hard to say.
Okay. Do we have other questions from folks?
I've never seen these particular people so quiet in their lives. It's unbelievable. Anybody?
Anyone? Oh, here we go. Maureen. So the third book is when they discover that Ireland is depressing.
Well, that's why they're so funny. because who's funnier than depressed people, right? Who live in dark, rainy places and they just drink all the time. I mean, they're hilarious. Anything else? I mean, we could, you don't have to have a question either. You could make a comment. You could juggle or tell a joke.
Kim says that being from Alaska, I can attest to that.
Oh, the dark, rainy place. Yeah. I mean, yeah, so there are great writers, not that I'm putting myself in that category, but who came from dreary places. You know, look at all the great Irish writers, James Joyce, look at Ken Kesey from rainy Oregon. Yeah, someone should do a study. If I had time to do a PhD, that's probably what I would do.
So I think was it one of the English queens, I don't remember which one, has a saying, the Irish will make you mad, for all their wars are merry and all their songs are sad.
Nice. I thought you were going to say all their queens were married.
No, all their
That would
wars,
be
only
the
their
English.
wars are merry. They like to fight, but then their
Yeah.
songs they sing are very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, great job, Jeff. That was really fun to hear you read.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So the greatest compliment that I have gotten in my writing career is that after the first book, a reviewer from Ireland reviewed the book, and he said I nailed the Irish, you know, like the way they spoke. And I was really like, because like if it came to doing accents, I wish I could read this when I read the parts that are the Irish characters. I can't do accents. I don't know. I'm just like, that part of my brain was damaged somewhere along the way. But I can hear the way they speak in my mind. I just can't repeat it verbally, but I guess on the page, you know, it came across, and I was really happy to hear that, because, you know, you write about something outside of your normal purview and you worry about the people who like inhabit that world, shaking their heads and going, oh my God, you know, wow, he really missed this.
So Jeff, how much whiskey did you drink while writing that book?
Where is that bottle anyway? I have it in front of me. Yeah, no, that, you know, that works for a lot of writers, not for me. You know, I'm barely cogent even when I'm sober. So I try to get my writing done early so then I could start to, yeah. Kim, are you going to ask something?
Yeah, so I feel bad taking up airspace since I could ask you in the writing group, but I'm really curious. That dialogue is so good. Like, it's just so good. So where are you naturally good in dialogue? Did you study that? Do you have an inspiration? I'm just curious how you got good at dialogue like that.
Yeah, if you saw my brother and I get together, this is basically what you would hear. And, you know, it has driven many people far away from us to listen to it. But I mean, even after all these years and we live in different places, I mean, we get together and it's the same thing. It's the tone is there, the jokes are there. We have all the same frames of reference. So that makes it really easy. So when you have two characters who grew up watching the same movies and, you know, had the same crazy neighbor who would mow the lawn in the middle of the night or whatever, it's really easy to put that dialogue together because you know exactly what they would say to each other.
That's amazing. You're so lucky to have that, because you're supposed to write really engaging, really fascinating dialogue like people would say it, but people don't say really fascinating usually, but you guys do.
Right.
So you have that. That's
Right.
amazing. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll tell my brother, he'll like it too.
Which one of you made up the word befuckery? Or is that a real word?
No,
'Cause I feel like you or him made that up.
no, I think I stole that from one of my friends, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a good steal.
yeah, so be careful what you say around writers.
Okay. But yeah, great dialogue.
Thank you.
Want to meet your brother.
I got a call from him today. He's just started the second book. We had a little dust up over the first book because you start to write something, and so okay, a character with a brother. Well, I have a brother, so in the rough drafts of the book, I gave the character my brother's name, right? Just for me, for reference, like not because I meant to name the character after my brother, but just almost like as a placeholder. And then, 2 years later, like the book has been accepted for publication and they're preparing it. And I think to myself, I should probably run this by him. And, just in general, since there's stuff from our childhood in there, and I sent him the book and he freaked out. He was like, how could you put me in your book? This character is me. And he was really upset. And I was like, okay, hang on a second. So some of the things that have happened to this character happened to you. But this is not you. Like, look at all these other things. Look at things that happened to me that I gave that character, or things that happened to you that I gave the other character. And so, I kind of talked him down, and then I said, look, we'll let Gina, your wife, read the book and see what she thinks. And so she was able to, bridge the gap between, there's that gap between fiction and nonfiction. And, you got to get your stuff somewhere. And my brother was funny and did funny things in his childhood, and I had to steal them. And so I was lucky that he finally understood that. And our agreement was that I would change the name of the character and it wouldn't be his name anymore. And now I
That's
think
also one of the most common things I get as a fiction writer. Someone will say, I didn't know you lived in Australia. And I go, I didn't live in Australia.
see anything else in the,
We just got a new question.
oh, good.
Oh, this is for me, I guess. Jeff Clark, where in Portland is Annie Blooms? I may be in town next week and I'll come by and buy a copy. Thanks, Jeff. We're in Multnomah Village, which is in Southwest Portland, south of downtown a ways, kind of right off the freeway. So it's pretty convenient if you have a car.
It's an awesome bookstore. We have a lot of bookstores in this town that are good, but this one, fantastic. Yeah. Bring a big box to carry all your books out.
I'll do it, guys. Thanks, Jeff. I enjoyed the reading.
Thanks for coming, Jeff.
You bet. My friend Andrew invited me, and we're going to have you out on the golf course at some point.
That would be great. I'll try not to hurt anyone.
Oh, thanks, Kim.
Someone said, no, you don't want to meet his brother. That's, I guess I'm competing against March Madness tonight. That's probably why there weren't 600 or 800 people on the call. They're all watching the UCLA game.
But at least Bradley is halfway paying attention, because he said he was going to go watch the game and then he made another comment. So,
Well, he's probably multitasking.
Yeah.
Or non-tasking.
And Lloyd also said, great job. Congratulations again. Getting late here. I needed to sign off. So I want to make sure you saw that.
Oh, thank you.
Roddy and Joanne Coles, this is better than March Madness, presumably.
Yeah, you haven't seen me dribble a basketball.
I think that was your brother.
What was that?
I think that was your brother.
Oh, my brother, yes. He was the
So
best.
Jeff, do you think you'll do a third of these two? Because they're really fun.
So as you know,
I know you're starting
from what
something
we
else.
saw
but yeah.
Tuesday night in writers group,
Yeah.
I've got something else that I'm gonna do, I think, first.
Mhm.
But that's what happened last time too. I started another project.
And they
I
drew
spent
you.
a couple of months on it. It wasn't going anywhere. And then I was like, Yeah, I don't think I'm done with the characters from the first book. And, you know, what I've come to realize is, you know, you become a novelist at age 60 and, you know, you don't have as much time to figure things out, right? Like if I were 20. I think if I had written the first book when I was 20, both books would have been in one, it would have been one book.
Oh,
But when
okay.
you're 60, you want to prove to yourself that you could actually finish something. And then
Yeah.
you want to prove that you could get it published. And so if I had felt I had another 40 or 50 years of a writing career ahead of me, you know, I might have kept going. Because I feel like a lot of the stuff in the second book really would have been very helpful in the first book. You know, you get to see like, so there's the two generations of characters. There are the brothers who are in their 50s, and then there's the parental generation, most of whom are dead or die in the book. And you never really get to see them as younger people. And I was really interested in like, how did they become the older people that they were? And what was the influence they had in the lives of the 50-year-old brothers when they knew them, you know, 40 years earlier. So, so that was really of interest to me. And, you know, that kind of drove the second book. And I mean, I've had people who read the book early on say that, you know, the backstory was really the compelling part. Like they could do without the story of the book itself if they could just hear more about these other characters.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay. Wow.
Good questions.
Yeah, I could see more. I could see more of them. I would be fine with that. Hanging with those two.
Yeah, it was fun. And I mean, I know what's going to happen next if there's another book. And it kind of brings in the premise of the first two. And, you know, the brothers will have to probably be more like 60. So if they're 54, I have to, you know, it'll be 5 years before they're 60. Although I don't know, maybe they could be in fiction, they could be 60 2 years after they're 50. Because we can do whatever we want, right?
Sure. There you go.
So let me check I didn't see anything else in the chat room.
I don't either.
Happy to answer more questions or let people go to bed. Well, not here. It's only 8 o'clock.
Watch more basketball, apparently.
Watch more basketball.
Or tennis. There's a really good tennis tournament going on too.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Indian Wells.
Ah. So we really had some competition tonight.
Yeah.
And St. Patrick's Day.
And St. Patrick's Day, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I think
There's always the Dairy Girls. Have you ever seen the Dairy Girls?
Oh, you know, I watched one episode of that and it didn't do it for me.
Okay.
For one thing, I had to put my translator on.
Yeah, you need a translator.
Yeah,
It's like Shakespeare.
exactly.
But yeah, no, those was really fun.
Well, thank you everybody for showing up. It's nice to see your faces, especially some that I haven't seen in a very long time. And don't forget to visit Annie Bloom's online and buy like everything that's on your list of things that you haven't bought, and go to the store because the store is cool. And Michael's there.
Yeah.
You can see Michael live in person.
And I just put the link in the chat again, so you can go to the event page and buy both of Jeff's books there. And we'll let him know that he's got books waiting to come in and sign. So that'd be great. We'd really appreciate it, your support. And thanks again, everyone. Have a really good night. Oh, this is being recorded. So if you know people who weren't able to make it here tonight, you can let them know on that same page. In about an hour or so, I'll have the YouTube link up there and you can share that with them there that way.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Happy St.
Jeff.
Patrick's Day.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick. Aaron Gobrath.
See you, Jeff.
Thanks. You too.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.